Hi everyone, my name is Shreya. I'm an editorial assistant at Bound. And today I'm here to talk about a challenge that I have faced in my creative profession a lot, which is being creative. And there's these two books that I read that really helped me get over my blocks. And there were a few really great exercises in there that helped me just channel my creativity. It completely kickstarted. So we're here to talk about those today. Today I have with me Niddhish, who is a creativity coach, a filmmaker, and a psychologist. And today we'll be delving into his books to talk about how they can help you as creative professionals and in your everyday life as well. So actually that was something I wanted to talk about because I do face a block, and there was at one point I was stuck for a week and I could not get through anything, and I actually read your book at that time because Michelle had suggested it, and I used your method, your exercise that you talk about in the book, the unknowing method, and that completely helped kickstart my brain and just get me going, and I wrote a full short story after that.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're here to talk about you and your books and how they help professionals like me and also everyone else who wants to get creative and get their juices flowing. So welcome, Niddhish.
Thank you.
He has made a mark in the field of filmmaking with his innovation style, and as he blends the elements of drama, comedy, and social issues in his stories. He has won several awards in advertising, and he's here to tell us more about himself.
I started off as a filmmaker. I'm also a psychologist. I specialize specifically in the creativity, which is one of the most misunderstood word in general. Apart from that, I'm also an artist, but my core still remains filmmaking. I've just completed my Bollywood film, which is due to its release, and working on another feature film.
Oh, that's great to hear. So how did so you have a background as a filmmaker.
Yes.
So how did you delve into writing?
So I'm a writer first and then a filmmaker.
Okay.
I used to write as a kid. I remember getting selected in poetry.com. It used to be like a big website back then, and they invited me to Washington DC, but it never really, I didn't go obviously, but it never really went anywhere, and I kept writing for various purposes, mostly poetry, and when I grew up, then of course to woo women, and that's what the only writing was. But when I fell in love with filmmaking, I kind of realized my writing, my painting, my poetry, all of that could come to life. I think we all write because there is a certain abstraction that we are trying to put out there, right? We want to tell the world how we are and how we see the world. We all see the world differently, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell the world how I wanted. I saw film as a medium which could really tell it. So I started writing stories then.
Okay.
From poetry it migrated to telling stories. It's been a long journey so far. So yeah, but I got into advertising after that, and also long format.
So these books are the culmination of your experience over these years.
This book is a culmination of a lot of things. See, I kind of realized that we all tend to generalize things, and we try to, that's... If we know how to do things, we expect other people to know it as well.
Yeah.
For example, save money. Like, you should save money. They don't tell you how. They just say save money, right?
Yeah.
They don't say, okay, this is how much in percentage that you should put it. Or there is nothing like a structure in terms of things. For example, social anxiety. Right?
Yeah.
Like, people say, yeah, you just go to a party, talk to people, have fun. Have fun. It's like, but for some people, it's very difficult. For example, I'm a socially anxious person. Like, I'm great with one-to-one conversation, but you send me to a party, you know what I mean? Not really my scene.
Completely get it.
But people expect you to know. You know what I mean? So similarly, people say, you have to be creative and, be creative, or you expect yourself to be. Nobody tells you. There are methods and ways that you could be extremely creative. There is a huge misconception about creativity. People say that there are certain type of people who are creative, and some people are born creative. And I think the word born creative is very funny, because nobody is born with anything. We all receive the same sort of information. How we process the information. We are all unique in our own way. We all are creative. Every single person who ever exists are creative. For example, there are people who are very good with a snotty retort. They'll respond like that. They're very good. They're good with that one-liners. That's really good creativity. For example, some people like to personalize the whatever that they get, whether it is a table that they're sitting on or the cup they like to do a little whatever,
Yeah.
That's creativity, right? The way we walk, we all walk differently. With the way we keep our hands, we started learning about talking to walking everything by copying, and from there something changes to what makes us our own unique thing, which itself is the foundation of creativity. So when I realized that being a creative professional, and because I come from a small little village from Kerala, and dad is an engineer, he put me into engineering. I kind of realized that I don't want to do anything. I want to do something creative, but what is creative? Which field of creativity?
Completely
all
lost
of that was completely lost to me. It took years for me to find out what I want to do and to find success in what I do. I kind of wanted to make that journey a little easier for people. So I wrote these books because both of these books have very different reasons. One is, Dare to Create is about people don't even have the confidence to go out and create.
Exactly.
Right? They say, Nina, yaar, wo bahut creative banda hai, usko de dete. Like, let's give it to him. He can do it. Maybe I can't. I'm not that creative.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't attempt things. So Dare to Create is more about, you are creative because we are all rich with natural resources. We use our 5 senses to receive the world, and we are filled with it. Whether we like it, whether while we are sleeping or not, we are filled with resources in our brain which we don't utilize. So Dare to Create is to give you that initial steps to become creative and start doing applying creativity in places where you don't have to pass it on to somebody, or you don't have to underestimate yourself. Spark Your Creativity is a little more evolved than that, because it is very specific to, like, it's like a, you click a switch and you could be.
Okay.
And it's literally as easy as that, because like I was giving an example of if you want to order pizza, you call up Domino's and order a pizza, and you want flowers, you call a florist, right? There's a number for florists, there's a number for Domino's. You call up florist and order for Domino's, they'll send you a flower burger. But what I mean is, similarly, we have those numbers of, Spark Your Creativity is like this directory of telephone numbers you can access. And get that information and then apply it to your project, whether it is about writing, singing, whatever that is. One of the biggest problems with psychology they use a lot of jargons.
Exactly.
So I've stayed away from it completely. There is not a single jargon. It's very, very light reading. It can be used as a journal where you can make notes about how you utilize. I've used some of the hypnotic techniques in this. So
that's great to hear, because there are not many creativity journals in India. I think yours is one of the first few. That is also not as preachy. As you said, you do mention a lot of psychological terms, but it's not very heavy, and it's very easy to understand, and it kind of helps you along your creative process as well. Like you mentioned earlier, there are no qualifications to be creative. I think we get a lot of mental blocks as well. Like, for example, you said you started off as an engineer. So a lot of people say that I am stuck in this field, so I shouldn't try and venture out and do something else. So I love that your books help people realize that there are no set squares that you have to be in, and there's no you can just be creative in like your everyday life.
Absolutely. So John Hegarty of advertising, it's Sir John Hegarty, he said this about creativity, and I completely agree with him. You need to be irreverent. Irreverence is one of the important thing about being rebellious and think, why not? You say that this is how it is. This is a box. You're supposed to be like, why not? Creativity even starts from there, if you really think about it. Because if you're all going to follow same set of rules, then you do the same thing, you get same results. If you want to get something else, you need to be irreverent. And I think that also become one of the foundation of creativity. That you should be able to think audaciously. You need to be able to think irreverently, and then go out and challenge the status quo, and that is the only way. And I think any creativity that has come out has always challenged the society, has always challenged the people around them. They have all called, the greatest of geniuses have been called the mad or weird, but then later they follow that. And I believe that creative people are the ones who's going to transform this world, and the world is here because of creative people in the past, and the world is going to propel ahead because of creative people. Right, and my this is my very humble little contribution to making any person, because as a company, as a person, my mission statement is positive impact is 2 words. I'm trying to see if I could get more people creative around me. That would definitely transform the world.
That's very true, and your book definitely does help inspire that in people. So in your book, you have outlined a few exercises, and I actually used one in Spark Your Creativity. You've mentioned the unknowing method, in which you forget everything and restart from basics. Right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
See, unknowing method. It's actually it sounds very simple, and it is very simple. It's usually the simple things is what we completely miss out on. If I become so curious to know anything, I'll suddenly become, all my brain cells are active. Like if I'm really, really curious about knowing a person also, for example, to know about you, I will ask you questions, every little detail. I will suddenly gain so much more about it. I'll start thinking way more, visualize a lot more about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have another reality inside my head, right?
Exactly.
So it's reflecting in my eye, and then, the whole thing. But so basically I'm seeing whatever that I'm seeing is inside my head. So the information is received by visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory and gustatory. And once we receive that information, what we do is we distort it. Right? We distort it basis our experiences from childhood, our experiences of working with it, or somebody said something, dad said something, mom said, whatever.
Exactly.
The whole world has said something about it, or have some experiences or belief systems. The belief systems again fed to us by people that this is right, this is wrong, this shouldn't be done. Those are useful. I'm not saying any of them, I'm not mocking any of them. Each and everything exists for a reason. But what I'm saying is this, what it does is it distorts the whole context of how we see things. And then basis that, now what we do is when we are familiar with it, then we don't apply it. So what happens is we have already created a block there.
Yeah.
There is no more exploration of it. This happens a lot in advertising as well. It's a motorcycle ad. Okay, motorcycles are done in a certain way. Motorcycles belong to a certain archetype. Motorcycles will need to look like this, which is a great thing. But what happens is that also limits people to only think between those lines to create anything more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, whereas if you think about some of the greatest work that has been done, they've been very audacious. They try to always go beyond that boundaries.
Exactly.
Why? Because they also look at it from a perspective and an angle that we have not looked at. Right? Why are they able to do it and why are we not? Because we just look at it and we already made a judgment about it. We already created set of. So we know too much. So the whole unknowing method is an exercise which just makes you wipe your slates, clean and look at things from angles and ways that you don't normally look at it. So now you suddenly see something new.
Yeah.
It's like, it's people and relationships, same thing. You know what I mean, right? We take people for granted because we think that's how they are. It's okay to do it. Husband, wives, the wives are taken for granted, husbands are taken for granted. They don't know. There is another perspective to how they are.
Yeah.
So, unknowing method is like finding that one more new character about that project that you're working, or
moving
one more perspective
past our
about
perceptions. Okay, so that's great because it's as a technique, it's great because it just helps you restart your brain. It did for me because I was writing a story and I was stuck because I was like, everything that has to be written about this topic has been written. What more can I add to it? Like, I won't be saying anything new. So I just had to take a moment to remove everything, all the information out of my head that I already had, and then I found something new. But I was like, I'm not limited by these set stories or these past experiences that I've had, and I can write something entirely new.
Yeah.
And for me also it was new, and it might not add anything, like the story could be out there, but it's my story, so it should still be told.
Correct.
So have you also do you use your exercises when you have your own creative blocks?
Absolutely. So this is very basic exercises. I have over the years found exercises which I have been capturing in a manner that I could communicate to people. I have a little more abstract ones which I do. But I kind of realized that the exercises need to be followed through. It cannot be something that you read and pass it on or just randomly. It's not something that you do like that. You need to if you pay attention to it, this sounds very simple. Like how it helped you is because you gave that time to it, and then it opened up. You applied it. You just have to apply it once, and then that process is with you forever. You know what I mean? Then you know that next time too many things are going on, you're just like, okay, I don't know anything, I'm going to start afresh. It's that process you could follow that's mentioned in the book. Similarly, there is irreverence methods, there is other methods that is written in the book, which you could, like a switch turned on, you could turn that on and do it. I have a little bit of a different process of following these methods, because this is, like I said, simplified for people to understand. But in general, one of the things that which I also ask people to do is, I kind of realize, how do you enrich your neural networks, right? Because we are so used to same things in every day. We wake up and we go to sleep. We know exactly what to predict out of it. Very few times that I'm not talking about going out on a vacation and say, okay, I've taken a break. That's not a break. What you need is to try to apply something new. Like, I picked up music at the age of 30. People say that if you don't learn music as a kid, you'll never be able to play.
Yeah, there's a set age you can't learn after this.
That's ridiculous. I picked up ukulele, I play djembe, I play flute.
That's so interesting.
I picked up painting. I mean, I used to paint as a kid, but then I picked up later in the age. Then I learned 3D, which they say that it will take 20 years to learn. It's not. I learned. So if I want to like really think differently, I just listen to a Chinese song. Right. The thing is, again, subconsciously they say that we understand all languages subconsciously. But forget that. What I'm trying to say is, when you're linguistic, I'm trying to learn Spanish. When you learn a new language, your neural networks work differently. Why? Because majority of the things that the way we feel and perceive the world is basis the linguistics, the conversations that we have with ourselves and with others, right? So when you learn a new language, or you listen to a music which is completely of a different language, or when you take up an instrument which you don't know how to do, or you play and you spend time with it. See, I'm not saying that I picked up and became a master of it. I use music only to express myself, right? So music has that role, right? So what I'm saying is, when you take up something new like that, your neural network starts forming new things, right? New connections. Suddenly, and then you apply that to your project that you're working on, you'll suddenly be able to think beyond what you normally think. Why? Because now brain has got newer connections which that could feed in some more information, right? So my exercise, apart from the ones that I do when I get into blocks and things like that, I'm constantly trying to find new methods and things that I could connect. I picked up martial arts. So I went and did comedy when I was writing a script. I was writing a script about a stand-up comic, and I performed as a stand-up comedian for 4 months. I'm not a funny guy, you know what I mean? But I went and performed in DC. Initially, it was an open mic. Somebody asked me to give me like a 5-minute gig in the club. Then I kind of realized there is a certain degree of humor. Mine is a very straight face. It's not a ha funny. But I did that. But what it did was, it opened up my way of looking at comedy very differently, and I was able to write. I'm probably a method director, maybe that way. But yes.
I love how you said how you tried out various things, and you didn't stop just because it wasn't working out for you. I think a lot of us also have that block when it comes to creating, that if we're not doing it great, we have to stop doing it and try something else. And I think a lot of people have spoken about that, and there's a lot of discourse on creativity now as well. Because people have realized that the overwhelming, just the amount of content out there just gets to people a lot, and it forms a mental
block. And now
the
most overwhelming is the AI one.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's great that you mentioned AI. I'll come back to that. But since the amount of talk on like discourse on creativity out there, what do you think is the most common misconception people have about creativity?
Like I said, the first thing about creativity, there is artistry and there is creativity. Creativity is everybody is creative. Artistry is you take one aspect of it, you sharpen it over the years. Like, for example, it could be a musical instrument, it could be a craft. You spend years in crafting it, you become a master of that, and that is when you are called as and when you start reaching a certain height, people call you an artist, right? Um, Otherwise, you're a technician or an operator who operates on a certain thing. When you do exceptionally well, then people start addressing you as an artist and stop calling you as a. This is my definition, it's not the textbook definition. But what I mean is there is artistry and there is creativity. Creativity, everybody is creative. There is nobody is born creative. I completely disagree with that. Yes, everybody's creativity, application of that creativity differs, right? How you apply, how well you apply, how, are you benefited from it? Do you make money from it? That's a different story. But we are all creative. That's that. So this is the first misconception altogether. So people tend to ridicule creative people. People react to different things differently.
Like if you don't agree with it, it's dumb.
Yeah. For example, see, the thing is, if there is a loud blast right now somewhere, you'll see some people are running towards it. You'll see 20 people are running away from it, scared. So you'll see one person faint. Right? You'll actually see some people laughing or for a loud blast. But that's how humans are made. We react very differently to different things. And to take any aspect of our lives and just say that, he has it, I don't have it. To a certain degree you might not, but we all have it. So I think that's that basically, Yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception. Rest of the misconceptions are, which are a little more evolved in terms of, all the industries that we work in, creative industries comes up with. But let's not get into that, but yeah.
Okay, you mentioned AI.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of people, at least in this profession, are a little worried because
worried,
now AI can be creative for you. So how do you feel, what do you think about?
We perceive the world from our senses.
Yeah.
Right. And all those 5 senses that I've spoken about and senses beyond. These are 5 that we have identified till now. I'm sure there are more senses that we have apart from these 5 senses that we have. And our innovations and our creations and our creative outputs are based on these senses plus our belief systems and experiences and emotions that we carry at that particular point in time. For example, if you draw a cat right now, basis how you feel right now, the cat will look in a certain way. Tomorrow, if you are happy or if you are sad or if you are in a different mood and something else is triggered, you don't even know what, and then you draw the cat, it will not be the same cat. You ask the AI to do the same cat with the same information today, and you ask the same information tomorrow, it will give you the same damn cat. There is going to be nothing different about it. Yes, of course, it could use that permutation on combinations of whatever that it could do to create variations, but if your input is exactly the same, right, without a single word of change or anything like that, if it's the same model, same AI model which it's been trained on, with the same information being fed into it, it will give you exactly same result. That can be called consistency in a way, but it is also a problem when it comes to creative space. Why? Because you want something else. Where is the emotion? There is no emotion to it.
It can only be as creative as you are.
Yes, it can only be as creative. So, which means, basis that input that you give, the prompt that you give to the AI could have your moods in it. That's how it becomes different, right? You could, so which means that it is a tool in your hand. It's not a tool come to beat you. It cannot beat you. Yes, it could be faster. It could be efficient. It could be, like I said, consistent. It could also generate things, like all the mundane tasks that we couldn't do. Yes, all that could be taken care and take jobs or whatever in that space. But if you're talking about puristic creativity, I don't think so. And the thing is, we are empathetic people and human beings in general. We see somebody cry in front of us, we have tears in our eyes. We are made like that. Okay, we are generally empathetic in nature. We see that in a movie screen and we cry. We laugh when somebody tells a joke. We react like that. That's because in similarly in an art form or in written text, when we read it, we feel emotions, right? And we react to emotions, which means that if something is plastic, we feel it. Unconsciously, we know this is not feeling right. This is feeling very lack of
Okay,
emotion.
for sure,
And when you read something with emotion, when we see a cat which is drawn with a certain emotion, we will react to that cat in a similar way. Yes, of course, probably the AI cat will look way beautiful structure wise, but this will have more emotion. Which means that I don't think, but I would say that every time when there is an innovation or something comes up, man has always beaten it, and creative people have beaten it. This is just going to be another tool. People are going to use it in 200 ways, and they're going to make 200 different things out of this, right? But it's still going to be people who are going to utilize. I think the smartest thing is to use AI and utilize to your advantage rather than
be scared of it.
Be scared of
it. It is a tool.
Because if you're scared of it, thinking what to do with it, take time, there are consequences. You should just figure out a way to adapt to it quickly, utilize it, and come up with something kick-ass.
Yeah, again, it's not like something you have to be scared of, or like it's not like a competitor.
Yeah.
Or you don't have to worry about I have to be better than AI in my life to just be better in general.
Correct. See, anyway, we are, and it's written in my book as well, one of the biggest things that keeps us small is the fear. Fear of not taking that step. Fear of what people will think. Fear of, are they going to call me out? Am I really that creative? Or am I, the whole syndrome that we call it.
Imposter
syndrome. That, maybe people will find out that I'm not creative. Everybody is creative, you just put it out there. Some people will like it. Perpetually nobody can like you. 100% of the people will never like you. And this is something that, a lot of us get very, at least the creative kind gets very offended about, that people don't approve of you or like you. They don't have to like you. You're a creator, you create. You create every day. You know what I mean? You create every day and you keep creating, and then people like it. There will be, first you have 10 followers of people, 10 people like you. Your effort is to make that 10 into 100. That's what I do in my films. I don't know if people will like my film, right? I've done 2 films right now and I'm putting it out there. I hope people love it, right? And then probably there will be a section of people who might not, which is absolutely fine. I'll take that feedback. But my effort would be to make that 100 into 1,000 or 1,000 into a lakh or whatever number of people to like me, right? That's the whole goal. Rather than trying to, if people won't like it, then this and that, it doesn't. Then not doing it, it's the biggest problem. So the fear is one of the biggest problems. And similarly with AI, if your fear is not going to help you, going against it is not going to, because it's not going to stop. I don't think it's going to stop. It's my point of view. Nobody can stop innovation and AI. It's going to be there. You learn to adapt to it, learn to use it, and try to come up with even better work than what you were doing before would be the right way to do it.
That is great. Like you mentioned before, like you have to take a risk if you want to create something, and you've mentioned that in your books as well. Can you give us an example of a risk that you took that
Oh my God,
paid
I've
off?
taken only risks in my life. So I quit engineering. So first risk that I took, I started working when I was very young. Instead of going back to an education, I did all my degrees and my post-graduation in psychology and all of that with my own efforts. I started an event company which failed thoroughly, lost a lot of money. I started a business in 2007, recession shut it.
Oh no.
Another risk, I started a company which with a lot of dream that time, which was to create a community of creative people, which that time people didn't get it. Well, at least I couldn't put it together. I failed. There's a risk. The movie is a risk, right? I left advertising. I was working in an agency. I left an agency and I said, no, I want to do a film. I want to tell my story to people. And this is a story that I've spent years crafting. I want to tell a story. So I left. By the way, 2007, I was in a corporate, well-paid job. Okay. I left that and I said, no, I want to do films. So the biggest risk was back then, because I was to give you a background, so I've done my post-graduation in HR and in psychology. I'm an SAP HR consultant. I'm a Six Sigma black belt and a project management professional.
Wow.
So I worked in an IT company and pretty decent at a very senior level, pretty decent salary. I left it. I left it and said, no, I want to do something creative. or I want to get into films, and I started off a production house in 2007. That was the biggest risk. I left, and people were like, okay, you left engineering, that was one risk because you wanted to creative, but here you were settled, you know what I mean, and now you leave that, and again go back to zero, and you'll have to start again. I mean, if we are, the moment you've decided to be creative, if you shouldn't be scared of going down to zero, because with zero you can always start again, you know, like that's the fun, that's the exciting part. Not that it's fun to do it,
but it's part of the process.
But it's part of the process. But there's a lot of things that you learn, and yeah. So from there to even the movie, when I went out, I reached out. I mean, it was a risk that worked for me. I reached out to people, whether it is Arshad Varsi, Juhi Chawla, Divya Datta. I just went and told them a story, right? That was I mean, I didn't think whether they would like it and what would they, you know, all that. I went and told genuine story. They liked it. They came on board, and then we are doing this movie, right? Similarly, the Malayalam movie that I'm doing, it's self-produced. People, I mean, I could have bought a house. I didn't buy a house. I put that money into, which my wife still says, you know, you put all your money into creative endeavors. What about a house? You know, which I said, but that's what I have signed up for. That's what I want to do with my life, you know. So I'm taking a huge risk by putting in my own money and making a movie, producing, directing, and you know, whatever. And it's very one of a kind film, which is gonna bring out a lot of my artistic, the paintings and stuff like that. Recently taken another risk. I have started 2 stores, e-commerce stores. I have started JustYounger.com, which is a contemporary clothing brand. I've also started Vibe Veda, which is a pure organic company which is into organics in terms of like stop having coffee, have mushroom coffee, you know, stop having sweets, have these multivitamin gummies maybe, right? I just a way to, because I kind of realized during COVID time, and I was addressing a lot of people, and I was helping all these medicines and all of that. Fell sick, and I kind of realized how unhealthy and how much it affects us, and also the kind of food after the Zomato culture and all the, you know, people ordering every moment and all of that. So wanted to do something with organics. I'm working closely on an ethnic brand, working directly with projects, the weavers, basically. Yeah, and there is that creative community app that I told you. So that's coming on. That's getting started. So yeah. I've been only taking risks. All of this is bootstrapped. They've been something that I've gone all the way out in building these businesses as well, which is launched one by one. And COVID gave more time for to do it. But now they are launched. 2 of them are already launched. The app will get launched in a month. And the ethnic wear, I'm meeting a lot of these weavers directly. I'm going and meeting them at their place, designing. All of them are my designs, so very excited to put it out there. So I design as well, yeah. So,
you've had quite a journey. You know, I think I lost track in the middle. I was like, wow, you've done so much. And you're still doing so much.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to stop. The plans keep coming up and keep doing, you know. Like I said, it's about just putting it out there and then wait for the world to... We work on feedbacks, right? Don't we? Like creative people work on feedbacks. Now, that feedback does not necessarily mean verbal feedback. So when you put it out there and you see how people react to it, we thrive on that, right?
That's true.
And also it's about just whatever that you have in your mind, you know, to share it with the world. We all want to share how we feel, don't we?
We do. Yes.
So that's what it is all about. So me, I'm being pure too. I'm a creativity coach, and I focus on creativity. So I should at every day try to be as creative as I can. That's what I'm trying to do.
That is great. And so since you've had your own personal, very, very elaborate journey, do you envision your reader having a similar journey when they read your book? I believe so,
yes. I believe that if any Dare to Create and Spark to Creativity, both my books, if you give it time and commit to it, you can carry it around. It's a very easy read, and but the thing is, when you're doing that exercise, just give that time. You know, the 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever time that you can give, the more time that you give, you'll suddenly realize that your neural networks are getting richer. and that's a guarantee, right? So you suddenly you open up your senses a lot more, and each of them are very structured. It's very step by step. If you continue to do one after the other, you'll suddenly realize that your journey and what you're able to produce by these exercises be of tremendous value, and I would say put that in action. The book is very objective driven as well. It's very simple, very straightforward, very specific. You tell me what you want to achieve, you work on it, you get there, and I'll help you get there with these exercises if you really follow it through. But you need to have an objective. You need to know if you're getting out from here, whether you want to go right or whether you want to go to Bandra or whether you want to go to which direction you want to go. If you don't know where you're going, then you're lost. So here, know where you're going. Apply this exercises, you'll get there. That's a guarantee.
You've written these 2 books. Do you have plans to write more?
Yes. So I'm again pushing my limits a little bit more. So I initially thought I would only write because I write screenplays and scripts. I've written a lot of them. I wanted to make a fiction book. This has been there in my head for several years, and then I said, okay, let me put this as a book. So now I'm writing graphic novel.
Okay, wow.
Okay.
Are you illustrating it?
I'm illustrating it as well. A little bit of help from AI, but I'm trying because it takes too much of hand training. But it's taking its time. So that is one thing that I'm working on. I'm also writing another book on creativity. Third book, which will take this one step ahead.
Okay.
So the foundation is there to create. Spark Your Creativity is very specific. I'm taking it a little more into the detailing of it and specific to areas of and mostly focused towards creative professionals basically. And so that is something that I'm working on.
That's great to hear. We look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you.
You can find both these books on Amazon. If these books, they're so, just the covers it's so evocative because just, if you can see, they're very colorful and they're very imaginative. What was the process like for creating the covers itself?
Trying to create a representation of creativity, which was very difficult. Okay, so how do you represent creativity through an image, right? Because creativity is not, it's
very abstract,
It's very abstract. So finally I managed to crack this, which is, I don't know, it's man being creative, I suppose.
Did you come up with the illustration yourself?
Yes,
did you
I
work
did.
with a
No, I did.
design? Oh, that's your own work?
Yeah.
For both the book covers?
Both the book covers.
Oh, that is so great.
So I basically sketched a person and then it's Photoshop and all of that,
That is so good to hear. And this one as well.
So Dare to Create is, yes, because exactly like that man, he looks a little bit like me, I suppose.
I was gonna ask if that's you.
It's not. It's a much handsome looking man. But again, quoting from Sir John Haggerty's work, when everybody zigs, we zag. That's what creative people do, right? And the image I was trying to represent is someone standing out of the crowd who has that courage to actually pursue a dream. Having a dream is, everybody has got a dream. Having an idea, everybody has that idea, right? Do you dare to create that dream, to make it happen, to go out there and get it done? So I was looking for an image which showcases that, and I found this. So when I drew this kind of this illustration, that kind of came together. Yeah, that's how this one happened.
And the message definitely is coming out that this man does stand apart.
Yeah.
And it does look like you. Now delving into the book, the cover is super creative and the inside help you be creative as well. Do you have one takeaway that you want the readers, if the entire book is just full of helpful advice, but if you want one message that you think the readers should definitely take away from this?
Act on it. And use your creativity to create a positive impact on somebody else. If you also notice that there is a lot of places that I've left for reader to write, there's this, it's like a journal. You can, and there's prompts for it, right? You just have to follow the prompt and put it down. You'll see that just makes you, so it's a very interactive book, okay, and both the Spark the Creativity and both of them, and has your notes. You can write your notes. There is a very step-by-step instructions on how to do your exercises. The takeaway would be, I think, like I said, it's all about applying and making something fantastic for your life, which you can. Everybody can. And if I can do it, anybody else can do it as well. Right? Whether it is in movies, whether it is in being a successful author, or whether it is anything. I think everybody can reach their greatness.
Yeah.
So they just have to find their great.
I know many of us struggle with being consistently creative, and just if we think we have one idea, how do we top the next? So I think your book should really help with that. So thank you so much for joining us and just sharing your inputs today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for this interview, Shreya. And I sincerely hope that this book reaches to people and it helps them, and I am happy to know that it helped you a lot. And it's a great feedback that I got from you, and I hope it reaches more people and it helps them. If there is anything, please reach out to me, and I would love to. I work on one-to-one coaching as well, so I work with a lot of, and for me, every time I work with a new creative person, it helps me to grow as a creative person, and that's how this creative world is, right? The more we interact with other creative people, we all become more richer and
feed off of each other's creativity
as well. So it'd be great to connect with you all and get in touch if there is anything. You can find me on www.niddhish.com. That's a double D. You can also find me at creativitycoach.niddhish.com. Please reach out if there is anything that you would like to share or collaborate. I'm all ears. And the books, you could find it. You can find both Spark Your Creativity and Dare to Create in Amazon. And I'm also publishing it in Pothi. If you want a Kindle version, you can find it in Amazon. You can find the physical version on Pothi. You can also order it on Amazon, just that it takes a little longer to reach you. Thank you.